Hi guys, it's Miss Best.
And Mrs. Willishell.
We're here because we are going to be updating our consensus model. Last week, as a class, you created something that kind of looks like this with your teacher. What we put on here is some wildebeest migrations. We also labeled the Serengeti National Park, where the Maasai people live, and where hunting is allowed. We're going to be updating this with what we found out about wildebeest migration.
Okay. So at the beginning of this lesson, we decided that we wanted to answer a question about the wildebeest. What question do we want to answer?
We wanted to answer what's impacting wildebeest migration.
Okay.
So I wrote that down here on a sticky note. I'm going to add that, boom, right there to the middle of the Serengeti National Park.
So what possible ideas did we come up with that could explain the wildebeest migration?
Well, on our data cards, we looked at location and month to start out.
Well, taking a look at what we have on our map already, we have obviously location since we have a map, and also we are labeling where the wildebeest are each month. So we've accounted for those two factors. What else?
We talked about disease, the anthrax.
Okay.
So let's add that as one of our data points because I don't see disease labeled anywhere else.
What else?
Predators, how the wildebeest died, and food or the overall health of that bone marrow. We looked at all three of those points.
Okay. So let's start our discussion with the disease anthrax to move us forward. So what patterns or lack of patterns did we notice with the disease anthrax?
So we noticed that there really is no pattern with the disease anthrax. Some of you with your organization might have seen that in June and July, there were clusters of wildebeest that had anthrax. About 20% of the wildebeest had anthrax.
Well, if a disease like anthrax was actually causing the wildebeest migration, what would we expect to see between the living and the dead wildebeest?
We would be expecting only the dead really to have anthrax because it's a deadly disease, but we saw that living and dead wildebeest had anthrax.
Okay. So can the anthrax data help us to explain wildebeest migration? What do you think?
I don't think so. No, because migration happened throughout the year. Disease only affected them part of the year, and there was no difference between living and non-living.
Okay. So we did not find any patterns to say that anthrax was connected to wildebeest migration. So we'll go ahead and remove that disease sticky note from our model. And let's move on to thoughts of predation. Okay. So what patterns or lack of patterns did we notice with wildebeest that were killed by predators versus ones who were not?
Okay, so the ones that were killed by predators seem to have like a poor nutritional health. They were nutritionally stressed, as seen on the cards.
So if nutritional health of the wildebeest was not a factor, then the percent of fat in the bone marrow would be the same for all wildebeest. So what does it tell us about the predators that the bone marrow data was different between the living and the dead wildebeests?
So between the living and the dead wildebeest, those that had the worst nutritional health, the nutritionally stressed, they were the ones killed by predators.
Okay. So what do you mean when you say the wildebeest had worse nutritional health?
So nutritional health, nutrition is what you eat, and the health is how good or bad that food is. So I'm thinking about the food that they eat and if it's good food or bad food. So maybe they just didn't have enough food if they were nutritionally stressed.
Okay. Do you think that age of the wildebeest could have tied in at all?
Yeah. I would say age of the wildebeest could have tied in there. Like some that were older or younger may not be as healthy or strong as others.
Okay. Well, I actually have some data showing the age of wildebeests, and in fact, most of the wildebeests that were dying were more middle-aged, not the youngest, not the oldest. They were more the middle-aged wildebeests. So how could the middle-aged wildebeests be the ones who are nutritionally weak?
Maybe those that were middle-aged weren't getting enough food somehow, causing them to be deficient compared to the other wildebeest.
Okay, so ultimately, we're going to end up moving that predator sticky note off to the side. So we didn't really find any patterns that would only connect predators to the wildebeest migration. So let's discuss what food patterns we observed when we looked at bone marrow fat between the living and the non-living wildebeest.
Mhm.
So what patterns or lack of patterns did you notice with nutritional health?
Ooh, nutritional health. Okay, so between the living and the dead wildebeest, the nutritional health was kind of similar in months like May, but then from June to October, wildebeest that were dying had more nutritional stressors or more nutritionally at risk.
Okay. So what does it mean when you say that some of the wildebeest were nutritionally at risk?
So nutritionally at risk, like we just said, was that they weren't getting enough food.
Okay. So imagine that you and like a group of your friends, you were going to a restaurant, and that restaurant didn't have enough room for everyone to sit. What would you and your friends do?
Leave, go somewhere else,
Well, why would you want to go to a different place to eat?
so that everyone could get food and we can all sit together and have a good time.
Okay. So connecting this kind of restaurant idea to the patterns we observe with the wildebeest migration and nutritional health, how could food cause the wildebeest to migrate?
Well, if there wasn't enough food in one area, then the wildebeest would all have to move to go get food in another area so they could all eat together and all have something to eat.
So we have seen that there is a pattern here that can be used as evidence to support a connection between food and wildebeest migration. How do we use what we figured out to update our model?
Well, I think that we should most definitely add the dead and the living wildebeest and the difference. So let's add the living one first.
Okay. So we have our wildebeest who are getting enough food and they can migrate, and yay, they are alive.
Yay.
And then our wildebeest who are not getting enough food. You want to put that one up?
Yeah. The ones that aren't getting enough food are being unalived by, I'm going to move this too if you're okay with that. They're getting unalived by predators. So we have food in the middle connecting these that the dead wildebeest don't get enough, which is causing the predation. And then wildebeest that are getting enough, they're alive. Yay!
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think we have a good consensus model here. Thank you for tuning in to Miss Bess and Mrs. Willowshell here at 7:41 on this beautiful morning. I hope that you enjoy this video and have a great day.
Have a nice one, kids.
Peace
Bye.
out.